Good morning, YouTube. Josh and Dan here, and today we're going to talk about why buying a Ferrari is always disappointing.
Because you're always going to find something that you don't like about it.
So are you recording all of the nefarious activities?
If you didn't know, we have the dealership NG Supercars. You can go check it out, ngsupercars.com. We have quite a few awesome cars for sale. If you're interested in them, send us an email, sales@ngsupercars.com, and we could negotiate and get you hooked up. One of the things that we thought about is, so far we've bought quite a few cars. We currently have 6 Ferraris in inventory, and we're joking about how out of all the Ferraris we bought so far, there's only been literally one that came in and was not a disappointment. One.
It's mostly because a lot of people say their car's perfect, and it's never perfect. Problem is, some people genuinely believe their car is perfect, but everybody's got different standards on what their definition of perfect is, right? You might have someone says, my car's perfect, and you get it, and you're like, this car's nowhere near perfect. But sometimes you say, someone says it's perfect, and it is. Sometimes you get a car, they say, oh, you know, it's okay, there's a few things here and there, and you get it, and you're like, God damn, this thing is perfect. So it's you know, everybody's, like I said, everybody's definition of perfect is different.
We wanted to talk about some of the common things that we find that aren't perfect, that people claim to be perfect. You know, and again, not all these things are like deal breakers, and that's not to say that like when you're buying these cars, you shouldn't be like, oh my God, I'm gonna walk away from this deal because Dan and Josh said that this is, you know, whatever. It's not that it's a big deal, it's just that people should disclose this or kind of be aware of these sorts of things, because if you expect perfection and then you see these things, it's gonna lead to disappointment. And that's really what it comes down to, is you gotta curb your expectations. Everyone thinks, oh, it's a multi-$100,000 car and they're owned by wealthy people, and so everyone maintains them with an open checkbook. I can't believe everyone always thinks that, and it's never true.
Not true.
Second of all, everyone thinks, oh, like, you know, it's a super expensive car, everything on it should be always perfect. And it's like, well, no, it's a machine. It's made by humans. There's definitely human
It's
error.
also, a lot of the Ferraris are handmade, and the things are put together by hand. So it's not like your run-of-the-mill Kia that's put together by robots.
Add into the fact that people don't know how to maintain them. They don't know how to take care of the paint. They don't know how to take care of the leather. They don't know how to do a lot of things properly, because this isn't a Toyota Camry. The paint on these cars is fragile. It is very easy to damage the paint on them.
Yep.
The bodies of the modern cars are all aluminum. Super easy to dent. Like, you could barely dink them and it dents. So you just gotta be aware of these sorts of things. So anyway, some of the common things, obviously we're already talking about paint. Paint is probably the single biggest thing that everyone says is perfect, and it's just never perfect. Never. They always have swirl marks. They always have some sort of flaws, whether it's orange peel in them, which a lot of these cars have orange peel from the factory. Like, it's literally, the joke is when you buy a brand new Ferrari, the first thing you should do is send it to a detailer to get a paint correction.
Yeah. I mean, if you really want it perfect, you have to do a paint correction, you have to do a PPF, and then ceramic coat it.
Yep.
I mean, that's the only way it's going to stay perfect and look perfect. And even then, you're still going to get swirl marks, and you're going to have that adjusted occasionally. But,
right.
And to do all that is, you know, could be easily 10 grand.
Yes.
Or more.
Paint, obviously, is a major concern. Another thing with paint is people hide accidents and repaint some of these cars all the time. So just because the Carfax says that there was no accident does not mean these cars didn't have an accident.
Don't believe the Carfax or the auto check.
You have to check it yourself.
Yeah.
And again, does not mean that the car is not good. If you look over the car and you cannot tell that's been repainted very easily, you're probably fine. They probably did a very good job on the repaint or on the respray. That's another common thing, is these cars, the paint's so thin that if they drove the car, it gets a ton of like road chips or rock chips and stuff. So people repaint the front of the cars all the time. Bumpers are very, very frequently repainted. So it's not a big deal so long as it's done correctly.
Also, you got people that hit them with a buffer and don't know what they're doing. And like Dan said, the paint's thin. So you're going to burn through that clear coat very fast. And once that happens, you have to repaint it. You really have to know what you're looking for as far as paint work goes if you're looking at a car, or have somebody that knows what they're doing look at it if you're concerned about that. But like Dan said, if it's just a bumper or something and they can prove that it was just maybe scratched and resprayed or something like that, it's not a big deal.
So moving on from the exterior paint work, I would say the next most common thing is the interior leather. Always something, whether it's a seat bolster, a stain, a wrinkle, stretching.
I think just about every Ferrari I've ever seen has some leather stretching on the dash somewhere.
Yeah,
Like,
headliners.
almost all of them.
All of them, the headliners start to fall after
Yeah.
they age. Obviously, hotter, humid climates seem to affect it worse than others. So, a car that's been in the south, even though it's going to have no corrosion, might have some leather issues in interior. And if it's been sitting outside a lot, or if it's not in a climate-controlled garage, all those can lead to all sorts of interior wonkiness and whatever. So, again, just set your expectations correctly that, hey, the driver's side bolster probably is going to have wear. It's probably going to have some leather stretching. A lot of it can be fixed for a reasonable price. Some of it's not so cheap, but some of it can be done. Like, headliners can be repaired very easily, so that's not a big deal. Like, if you see a sagging headliner, whatever, fix it, $500, you're all set.
Yeah, and all that stuff, like Dan said, it's all fixable. So if you want a perfect car, you can have one, but more than likely you're not going to find one that's already perfect. You're going to have to put some money into them and fix them. Even a stretching leather on the dash, you can fix that. You can pull the dash out and have it recovered, but it's expensive. Anything can be fixed. It's just a matter of, do you want to pay up for it?
Right. How much do you want to spend? How much time?
And that's why sometimes you see a discrepancy in prices on Ferraris, used ones, because a lot of them, the owner did take care of them and did spend a ton of money to make it perfect. They're few and far between, but they are out there. And those people know what they know what they got.
The downside is a ton of people think they got that.
Right, that's the
and
problem.
And they don't, but they won't budge from those prices. They think, oh, this car is perfect. And just because it's got low miles does not mean that the car is going to be perfect. That's actually totally not true.
At all.
We've seen cars that are totally messed up with only a few thousand miles on it. Really depends on how the car was maintained. Sticky buttons, another super common thing. Pretty much every Ferrari on earth is subject to sticky buttons.
Yeah, Ferrari, please do something about that. God
stop
bless.
making that soft touch coating, please. We don't care. Just make it.
There's got to be. My Lexus has buttons that are matte black, and that car has 200,000 miles on it, and they look perfect. So I don't understand why you can't do that.
Obviously, hotter, humid climates affects it faster. Those are kind of like the three major sticking points. It's funny because mechanically, they're usually pretty okay. I think most people, when they have mechanical issues, something starts to either make a sound or drive poorer or whatever. I guess the exceptions would be clutches on single clutch cars get miscalibrated all the time. We can't even tell you how badly off some of the settings are on the clutch, and so you get really poor behavior. And that's I have a theory that that's why people think the single clutch cars are so bad, is because they've all driven bad.
Yeah, they haven't driven one that's been set up properly.
Yeah, you set them up properly and they drive amazing. Ball joints can go bad. Usually you can hear those, hear the clicking or popping, lots of other little wonky things.
The thing too to think about is mechanical stuff is easier to fix than cosmetic stuff. Mm-hmm. So if you have a car that needs to be fully repainted, that's a big deal, and that's going to turn off some people. But if you have a car that has cracked headers and you put new headers on it, that's a selling point. Like, that's
no one cares.
plus.
In fact, they want it.
Yeah, that's a plus.
Mechanical stuff's pretty much like yes or no. It's binary, right?
Right.
Was it fixed or not? Does it work or not? Cosmetic is very subjective. So it's people are like, I believe my paint looks perfect. No, it isn't. So I think that's the whole point, is we just want you guys to be aware that set your expectations correctly. Do not assume just because the car is expensive, just because it's got low miles or anything like that, that it's going to be perfect. We're not even trying to bash other people. We're not saying that our cars are perfect. They aren't. We just try and express to you the condition of the car as accurately as possible. And really, we want to show you as much as possible all the warts and pimples and imperfections, because then when you get the car, you just know what you're getting. And I think that's the way it should be.
Yep.
And I wish other dealerships would do that instead of hiding crap and waiting for you to find it days or weeks or months later when you finally get around to it, or when someone points it out. I mean, we've had friends who have had $10,000+ PPF jobs, and we saw it and we were just appalled that this was considered acceptable. It just, the quality of work that people are doing out there of maintaining detailing or PPFs or paint corrections and all that stuff is so vastly different.
Well, and also, like Dan said, we had a friend that had a nice car come in and saw the PPF on it, and we're like, this is terrible. And he was like, what do you mean? He thought it was good.
He thought it was fine.
So he's gonna, if he goes to sell that car, he's gonna tell the buyer,
it's perfect.
Hey, it's perfect. And the buyer gets there that knows what he's looking at and is like, this is not perfect
It's
at all.
garbage.
This is terrible. And he's gonna be like, what are you talking about?
So if you're ever unsure of whether or not the condition is as good as it should be, that's where you really need to find a friend. It doesn't have to be us. You can have us help you look at these cars. Obviously, we charge money for that because it takes our time, but find someone who really knows cars, who really knows these cars, who knows Ferraris. Pay them, whatever. I mean, just have someone help you out if you're not sure about these things. And it, you know, even if you are sure about them, having a second set of eyes is always good. I mean, I can tell you, we've got 3 people working for a dealership now, and sometimes one of us finds something that the other 2 didn't. Sometimes all 3 of us see it. It just depends. Sometimes you just need a second set of eyes to really double check everything and make sure that you're getting what you paid for. And that's ultimately what this comes down to is, if you're happy with the car, it really doesn't matter if it's perfect or not, just as long as you're happy with it and that you paid what you believe the car is worth.
And I think, you know, a lot of first-time Ferrari buyers that maybe haven't had an exotic before, like Dan said, you have these high expectations because you're spending 6 figures on a car that, you know, it's going to be perfect. Just, you got to get that out of your mind.
It's not.
You got to get that out of your mind.
Never perfect.
It's never perfect. Just go into it with an open mind. If it's got a few things on it, maybe that's patina to you and you like that and you're going to go drive the car, great. Maybe you want to fix that stuff. That's cool too. Whatever you want to do, but there's, you know, there's always a way to make yourself okay with whatever the car is. Even if it's a total turd, everything can be brought back to life.
Yeah.
Any car can be brought back to life for the right amount of money.
It just might cost as much as the car or more.
But typically what happens is, you want a perfect car. Let's say you're looking at a 430 and an absolutely perfect one's 140 grand. Well, you could say, hey, I found this one for 100,000. I'm like, okay, well, go buy that one. And you're gonna have to spend 40 grand on it to make it perfect. So you're gonna come out the same in the end. So if you like to work on cars or whatever, great, buy the $100,000 one. If you want a perfect one, buy the $140,000 one.
Yeah, if you're okay with the fact that you don't have a perfect one, buy the cheaper one.
Yep.
And go drive it and enjoy it. If you need any help buying cars or selling cars, again, feel free to email us, sales@ngsupercars.com. We're looking to buy cars even when they're not perfect. In fact, we prefer them not to be perfect. If you tell us they're perfect, we're gonna look for the imperfections and find them. But if you wanna buy one of our cars, again, sales@ngsupercars.com. If there's anything we can do to help you out with a consultation, send us an email or go visit our website, normalguysupercar.com. But that's gonna do it, you guys. We appreciate you for watching. Like, share, and subscribe. And we're gonna be doing a lot of cool car stuff, so you're gonna wanna stay tuned. It's gonna be sweet.
See you later.